As usual, it's going to be windy. I'm down on the shoreline, I'm calling it a beach. Perhaps not the wisest decision that I've made. First of all, I came along the wrong spit over there, jumped across the channel, and in fact the mud is indeed deeper than you would think, and not just a booty, the full Monty, absolutely all the way up, just stopping short of the wedding regalia, luckily. Good job I didn't get too stuck in there, because I might not have got out. Anyway, I'm trying for whatever. It'd be nice to catch flounders used to years ago. I've never fished in my life. They've told me I can't get cut off here. I'm looking at the high water marks. It's obviously coming up to here. It's a pretty big spring tide. There's grass all growing along here, so I'm figuring this is all okay. And this is the highest point I'm on at the moment, which is these bramble bushes. There's a slight drop in it down there, and allegedly I can see small mullet going up there. I guess they're small ones. As this tide's flooding in through that channel, apparently that's a good place to try. So it's mullet, flatfish, you know, anything that comes along. And I've got a pair of waders with me, but Captain Sensible didn't think to put them on when he jumped into the mud. It's up everything. It's black mud. It's disgusting. It is the booty to end all booties. So we'll see what happens. I've thrown out, got ragworm there. That's all I've got, ragworm, which flounders like ragworm. And I might have a spin as well, see what's about, who knows. So it could be an epic disaster, I don't know. The wind's okay, but I didn't bring the umbrella for the mic, so I'm up on this hump. You're going to get wind. You can see, just wipe your hands once and it's it's like paint. I've got some ragworm, but I think being up in a harbour sort of estuary area, not harbour, it is an estuary, I figure that the crabs are going to be mullering my bait fairly quickly, so I'm just going to get through it as and when. About 2.5 hours to high water, and if I survive that on a spring, I can actually get off this thing. Then I might go spinning way down at the channel. We'll see how far I go first. I'll take a walk down here just to have a look. It's obviously a high water. Looking at the weed here, I might not be able to get along here. So apparently there's a channel up here, a channel that the fish run through. Oh, there's a nice bit of drainage pipe going spare. Crikey, that looks brand new. I'm guessing it's washed off of a boat, and fish fill up in there apparently. I'm going to have a spin round there anyway while I can. It's pouring through there. Obviously a place not to fall in. The thing is, with a lot of wind, you've also got to watch the size or weight of the lure, because if it's too heavy, it's going to sink in all that kelp and weeds, you can see, which is only just floating from the start of the tide lifting it. So choose your lure weight wisely. Oh yeah, there's a little fish on here. I just looked back and I saw the rod top go. Oh, let's hope it's something that might be nice to get some form of fish. Definitely saw a bite. And the bottom. I've got to keep it coming, it's going to be weed as well. Yeah, there's a fish here, I think. I'll keep him coming. One fish will be nice. Trouble is, I've got spare hooks. Come on, come on, come on. It's only a small bass. Oh, it's a bass, goodness me. I thought it was a flounder. Come to Uncle Graham. What a result, people. No, not a huge fish, obviously, but listen, it's a bass, for goodness sake. Just the way it goes, you're after flounder, and you get a nice one of these guys. Well, maybe I won't bother with the lures. Small fish, but listen, a fish. gone. Woohoo! I love an early start, gives me confidence. All anglers do it, but being greedy, we want more. I try and film from down here behind the brambles because that's the only place there's any shelter. See, the thing is now, look at it. Do I wait for the tide to fill a bit more, or do I chance catching fish now? Because once the water ebbs and goes away, it's gone away, it's nothing there, it's just mud. I think I've got to try and catch what I have got in front of me, and I've got around me a million bumblebees, I just realised. Let's see if we can get out there again. The thing is, there's all weed in here, and I've got 3 hooks on, so if I get a fish on one, the other 2 might snag in there and it's game over. I was lucky there, lucky to get that one out. Is this a way up? Smith, which is a way up? Look for the rock with a hole in it. I'm tempted to chuck a second one out now. Seems like there's a bar over there that's lighter. It's deep that side, and there might be a hole this side. That's how I'm reading it anyway, along there. I'm not going to bother with that for a second, I'll sit on the baits. Let's get the old trusty kanji out. Look, it's absolutely caked. It really is. Horrible, horrible back mud. Hasn't been disturbed for 140 years of pollution laying on it. I'm probably radioactive by now. Bloody hell, a slack line. Is that a fish? Why is that slack? Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a minute, people. That's why it's slack. Missed him. He's probably had one of the worms off. Smith, watch that rod. I can't tackle up properly now because I'll be watching. There he goes, there he goes, there he goes. I don't want to wind too fast because it could be the flounder that I'm after, and I'll just take it away from him. I'm sure to me he's still nibbling, but he's not hooked himself yet. Well, I've got a different match rig, beach match rig on here. I'm hoping the hooks aren't too big. I'm afraid I should be using new hooks, but I'm not. I'm just using this old 50-year-old stone, trying to get a bit of a point on. It's got a little V there, which actually does put a slight cutting edge on there. Trouble is, you never really get the same point on as you do when they come out the packet. But if I don't get it relatively sharp, I'm going to miss a fish. Right, this is one up and one down. The one down below the lead is really quite long, but it has got some coloured beads there. I don't suppose they make any difference because the water's pretty coloured out there. Wind again's come right up. It's just so annoying this year. What is it with this wind all the time? Is that the fault of the jet stream as well? Years since we used to catch flounders down the south coast. But they have started catching them. Apparently one guy had 4 somewhere, I think it was. Might have been in a boat, I think. Might even have been in a boat. Which I don't think I've even caught flounders in a boat down here. It's always been in the sea, on the seafront, up the estuaries. You see what I mean? Just can't quite get it. But it is what it is. We'll try it. We've even got people that read the date on the paper to find out when I was fishing. It means nothing because I keep my papers years. Oh, that one nipped me. So I'm just threading it up the hook, which you can see here. I'm not clipping down or anything like that. That line's very slack. I think I'm going to wheel this one in before I throw this one out. I think that, oh, the brambles. I feel like I'm fishing for carp or something. Coming through the weed, coming through the weed. Another thing I try and do is keep my rods up fairly high when I've got, again, light weights and weed. I did by pure chance feel sure I threw in yet some sort of leftover prawns, still frozen, but they're giant ones. They just might help eke the bait out a bit. I just put a chunk of prawn on there just to give me a bit of booster bait. Once you get out on a bit of a sort of promontory like this, you just got to make sure you get your tides right. You know, your tide. I mean, I did read the tide table and I did get it right, but even with a spring tide, that is the biggest tide, really, say, of that month. And you can see over there the channel and the island. That's the mainland back there. It's already filled up where I fell in the mud through there. It's these are old mussel beds years ago. Apparently, the mud is just yucky, full of years of pollution and sewage, I imagine. But it's got a bit of greenery growing on this area. So you've got to watch the wind, because if the wind is strong, it's going to push that tide up even higher. But what I did find, which I find interesting when I go beach combing, as you know I like my beach combings. Hang on a minute, what's this? Was this partly submerged city of Atlantis or something next to Portsmouth or Hayling Island? Look, all the bricks are even cemented together. Now, would anybody have cast them out there or thrown them or dumped them? You can't get there by car. This one says South Water, I imagine, which has now been taken over, perhaps called Southern Water. Lumps of concrete everywhere and bricks upon bricks upon bricks. Again, parts of walls there. How did they get there? Were they in fact used 150 years ago to build this barrier of mussel beds? Even what looks like lumps of steel. That looks like an I or an H-ended girder, as you would use for RSJs, reinforced steel joints over doorways and things, as supports. So it's just a big heap of rubble, but I suppose it's got to be there. There's another one, South Water. Does anybody know the history of South Water? There's Mud Water, Mr. Muddy right up to the knee. My boots are squelching as well, by the way, because they're full of water. Talking of water, is what I need down my drain pipes and my trousers is a piece of this drain pipe. Perhaps that's why they called them drain pipe trousers years ago. Perhaps if they were a little bit fatter and my legs were thinner, I could wear some of that and cut it off. Yes, why not? But there's holes in it, so it drains water out. So it's underground drainage. I know that. I've got it on my own property. But I've had to buy mine. That looks like it would all be free if the car was parked there. Steel girders. Now look what's happened now that's split apart and layered and split with the salt water on a piece of angle iron. So was the angle iron compressed into those layers initially when it was forged? Does anybody know? Why does it actually blow apart like that if it was solid angle iron? There's a new country, Stourbridge, it looks like. Is that Stourbridge? Looks like Stourbridge to me. That's a Stourbridge brick. LBC, oh I know LBC, that's a wonderful radio station I think. That means London Brick Company. So there's quite a collection of bricks here. Different makes, but of course it might tell you the era in which that whole barrier was built, the muscle bricks were built. And look at this, look how that split apart again, a piece of angle iron. I find that interesting how the salt water just eating it away but split it apart. Well, I just realised I can come over this side and the wind's firing up off the hump of the bank and I can actually talk relatively well. Not well, you'll be able to hear it. It's filling up here, a massive amount of weed in there. And just how much plastic the human race can make is definitely signposted in there. But what I've done, because the wind's blasting from left to right slightly, which is not supposed to, I've got the lighter rod to the right and the heavy rod to the left. If I reverse that, the light rod might bounce in the wind with a piece of weed or something on it and drag into the second rod, which is fixed. So it's just it's a sort of a tip, isn't it? Hasn't done me much good because I haven't caught another fish. In fact, I haven't had any more bites since then. But it's just something worth thinking about. So I better check the clock. High tide is allegedly, according to the paperwork, 2:30. Anything over 2:30 and somebody better find my head cam floating. I'm just banking that brambles don't do well in salt water. That's why I'm at the highest point, I believe. So no more bites. Ominous, guys. Hour and a half to high. Hopefully I'm safe where I am. The lure I've got there is really good. It's like a prism one. It's like a mini Dexter wedge. I haven't got a clue what it is. Really good for mackerel, so I'm trying. That's what I'm trying for, but nothing at all. It's weird, but because mackerel don't like it rough, do they? Generally, it breaks the shoals up, and we've had so much wind. But that's what I'm trying for. But in this wind, to be honest, I can cast downwind. I can go down. Yeah, I can cast straight down there quite a way. You know, but I'm trying in the channel where you're supposed to try. And nothing. My gut feeling is when this fills up, the ebb tide goes out, then there might be mackerel and stuff on the outside waiting for food to get washed through from you know, tiny fish that have come in here, any crabs that get washed out and that come. That's my theory anyway. So I'm going to try and hang on if I can till the ebb starts. Of course, the other thing I might catch with worm, I can also have a chance of not just flounders, but I could get that's right. Yeah, sole. I could get a sole. I spend too much time on my own, that's the trouble. I'm trapped on an island here. I'll tell you what, I hope I'm not in a minute. Here we go, even here I'm getting pestered by sailors trying to go through my fishing lines. Unbelievable. Thank you. I think they heard me then. They turned right round. Unless it's all this rubbish, they think, my God, that man's got some terrible skin disease. So they've got a few flowers growing on the top there, and that's why I am absolutely on the peak of the hump. The tide is now at its height. It's covered up all the different bricks there, relatively clear, and there, as you can see, is the back of it. The whole lagoon is filling up with water. It was slightly disconcerting. It's the first time I've ever walked out there. I thought, Graeme, are you being incredibly stupid? But the fact, obviously in a storm, the waves will go straight over the top and wash you off. But it was only that I thought, well, with this grass growing there, look, surely that indicates, or mind you, it could be that marram grass, which is like sand dune grass, which is highly tolerant of salt water, so it might get washed over in some storms. Any locals tell me. So I kept throwing my bait out. I was getting mullered by the crabs. I mean, unbelievable. But you'd expect that in most sort of estuaries like this. But I just had flounders in my mind, flounders on the brain. I'm not going to say I'm thinking place, maybe a dab, but basically estuary flounders. And it appears it's not to be. But listen, someone's got to try it. I heard tips from people saying, Graeme, you want to go there, we catch 50 bass in a day from there. Yeah, but it's a nursery area. I'm after flounders, not bass. And even though I'm spinning for mackerel and stuff, you'd think if there were loads of bass around, you'd catch them. I didn't catch them. Only the ones on the bait, but the lures remained untouched. Well, just what I would call mildly concerning. is the fact the channel is no more and the island, the land on the other side, is no more. It appears I'm very close to being marooned on an island. At least I hope it is an island. I was spinning down out there, and now quite worryingly there's nothing. So you can see here, look, if you look in the earlier clips, you'll see where I was casting in just a few feet, there was an island on the other side. The island has vanished. There is nothing. I'm standing virtually as the waves are actually going over that, the greenery there, which is, I suppose, slightly concerning. And when I went to look at that stake, there's barely 4 inches of stake left there. So hopefully it's not going to come up much more. I suppose, looking at it logically, if it did come up much more, it would have washed that floating plastic pipe. It would have washed it over the back into the lagoon. Ah, is that another pointer? So if all the flotsam and jetsam is on the windward side, then, you know, that means that the wind doesn't push the waves over the top. I've cut off there totally now, the channel both ends. I'm on a piece of island. A little bit sketchy, but, you know, it's got to come up again if it's going to cause me problems. And again, I can stand there and put waders on. Well, it's squishy down here as well. So, obviously, not having been here before, you have to say to yourself, did you check, Graeme? Well, yeah, I did ask a couple of people, but it depends on the height of the tides. This is a big spring tide. I think it's 5 metres, 5 point whatever. So it's up near the limit, but I figure I'm okay. I know gorse bushes, brambles, I'm not going to like salt water. And this one little hump I've got, I saw just now when I walked through, grasshoppers. Now, they wouldn't be living here. At some stage, waves must splash over there, but I don't think it's totally submerged. So there's a metre, and that's before I put my waders on up there and just stand screaming for help. Don't joke. Now, I figure I'm okay by time-wise now. The channel will stop in a minute, and then the waves should go a bit quieter, and then when it gets wind against the waves, when that ebbs out there, I feel it's gonna make a sort of rip, like a tide rip, and that's sort of what I'm hanging on for. I get no bites at all, and yet that first one, boom, rod out, bang, 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 on. I got quarter sections of prawn on there and a couple of ragworm, and in a minute I'm going to chuck maybe my little bonus spinning rod out and see if there's any flounders in close. But I can't get back. I can't get off anyway because it's underwater. So solo man survives on island. We hope it's surviving. Oh yeah, gonna have a cook up, and I think I'll have it down here on the wet weed as well. A pleasant enough day. I was, bizarrely as it seems, enjoying myself being out there, solitaire, marooned, totally on my own. Well folks, a bit disappointing. Windy, no bites. I think the tide's as high as it's getting. I think it's ebbing now. I'm still cut off over there, but I'm looking at the yachts down under the bridge there, and I think they just turned around. Plus, I can just see extra white caps out in the centre channel, and that's normally a wind against tide situation. It tells me it's running out. I threw a piece of wood in the channel, or wherever's left of the channel, and that's just sitting. It's not actually going down on the wind, it's just sitting there. So I'm figuring it's just the ebb is holding it against the tide. I'm fancying going down there, move the rods down, because I get nothing here now. I just throw it in that channel and see what happens till it gets too tough to fish. And then when it drops down a bit, okay, just down here, I'll let this water, the water's only here, the water's right there, that's where the tide is. I'm going to let that go down, and then I can have something to eat and cook up. I've got chicken, peri, and sauté potatoes. Oh my god, I've just got to wait for the tide to go down. Do I want to catch a fish, or do I want to have something to eat? The crabs are absolutely mullering me totally. They're nailing me big time. Baits aren't out there. Well, I'll come back with totally bare hooks, so 10 minutes. But I'm just hoping when the tide flows, they might ease off a bit. And if I go up there where the flow is, or should be, that might move them off a bit as well. There's so many grasshoppers here, and they're the ones that made me stay rather than thinking, do you know what, I don't think I'm going to get cut off. There's loads in this grass. Well, it's that time, guys. I've moved right down, assuming the channel's going to suck the water out. It's gone 3, tide's well down now, it's dropped down from the top. So I'm going to have a bit of grub just here on the wet seaweed. So I'll get it set up, and that way I'm close to the rods if anything bizarre does happen. I was going to go out on the main part of the beach, scrub here and then go out mackerel fishing, but I'm not going to bother now. Get myself organised. Actually, my hands match the end of the burner, which is nice. Being a bit of a fashionista, or fashionista, not. They do a tall one of these. I don't really like the tall one, I've got to be honest. It's a bit wobbly. I like this one, which is much lower. Give it a good shake up. Hopefully it will sit, stay. Got a windbreak there, I don't think I'm going to need it. Well, I won't need to add salt, will I? A little bit of cooking oil. They say do not use olive oil. Sorry, going to use regular sunflower oil, not the virgin oil, because they say it gets too hot apparently, or burns or whatever. I put it like just here. I can just glance up while I'm cooking and actually see, oh, don't laugh, a bite. Well, it appears we have some form of lift off. This wok is not the most stable platform on here, so we could have a sort of chicken peri-peri, sauté potatoes with some bladderwrack weed. Not a nibble, I don't get it. Got that fish straight away and not a bite. That's going to need watching all the time. Wifey tells me the potatoes are going to take longer. Get in there. And these ones are parboiled, and then I could have sliced them thinner. But you can eat these raw, that makes no difference. And the same goes with chicken peri-peri. It's pre-cooked, you can eat it, so all I can do is just sort of flash fry it in here. A sound to set the pulse racing. I know the fish is not great, but I've quite enjoyed being out there on my own, desolate and cut off for a short period of time. No people, no dogs. Well, we're getting there. I think it's time to drop the chicken peri-peri in. As you can see, it's all sliced up ready. Here it goes. And that won't take long. I don't know whether this is going to be as exciting as catching the bass on the first cast. Is this going to be the highlight, or is it that? Because I am not getting any nibbles whatsoever. You can't beat a good beach cook-up. Well, I tell you, even though I'm cut off from the mainland, all those people walking along the shore, if they smell this and it's blowing in that way, will wonder where the restaurant is. Because the chicken peri-peri smells really good. I've just got the chips up around the edge, the old sautés, chunky sauté potatoes as I'm calling them. Just knock the seaweed out of the billy can. Couple of carbonated bits in there. Just like to maintain my culinary cuisine standard with a bit of Teflon. And there we go. Mullet food. I would say sit back and enjoy, but I can't because I forgot to bring a chair. The wind hasn't stopped. I'm out of bait. It hasn't happened. Well, it has. I've got my rucksack now. Look at this. Look at this. You couldn't pay somebody to do that, could you? So I'm going to have one last throw. Disappointing on the fishing, but I've actually quite enjoyed the session, and more where I am than anything else, and a great cook up. I'll throw this out, and it's a 5-minute warning. You can see here now, look, the tide, the island on the other side is starting to show. And the rip, can you see the smooth area and then the rip where the lagoon is absolutely pouring out there. So I stayed for that, to be honest, although the fishing wasn't great. I just thought, I wonder if there are any little fry, if they're going to come out through that channel. Oh my God, I've come good in the end. I did think I might get a bite because the crab stopped. And his poor Mr. Bass, the smallest bass known to man, he's not even hooked in the mouth, he's slashed at it and hooked himself through the gills. And it looks like, to me, he's had his tail chewed by the crabs, but I'm going to throw him back, he's got a chance. So, 2 bass, well, sort of. See, I must be mad with all this gear. When I get home, I've had much heavier. I had 64 pounds over with Paul Harrison Island with a great big suitcase camera. I had a Sony NX cam, tripods, fishing gear, climbing on the rocks. Over 60 pounds. I reckon I've probably got 40 pounds here. I'm going to weigh this lot when I get back. Right, so eventually I'm back home, my feet are killing me. I'm going to weigh this up just to give me an idea. I'll be real surprised if I don't get to 40 pounds. It was pretty grim, the fishing. I really enjoyed the day. And tomorrow is horrendous. I'm so pleased I went. That's 8 pounds already. Right, I've got a calculator. 8 plus 6, 3. That's 2, that's surprised. And now, the pièce de résistance, the knapsack. I doubt we're going to get that. Gee whiz, that's 21 pounds. Oh, and bait, that's 22 pounds. There we go, guys. I thought it would be 22. And there we go. It does not lie. My pack, and I've eaten the food, 44-pound backpack. I must be mad. For a tiny bass that I could use as a postage stamp, and one reasonable little one. It is what it is. Let's see what else we can find. But I knew it wasn't as big as the one I had in Ireland when it was over 62 or 64 pounds. Oh my God. Across rocks, half a mile. Mad. But it's all done in the name of films.
Hi Graeme, we've been talking about carp fishing again, and with the nicer weather coming and spring starting, everybody's looking at getting out and about for a bit of fishing. So what I've done is I've dug out a couple of patterns of hooks, because I get asked all the time, what hook should I use? everybody has their own favourite hook, but where I would start is just what I class as a standard wide gape hook. These ones are by Calder. We can get them in Fox. Everybody, you know, Fox, Gardner. Trying to think now, there's about 10 different companies who will do them. So, right, so what you got on here, wide gape being between the shank and the point, you've got quite a wide gape, hence the reason for the name. This is a size 4, which I've picked out some bigger ones just for the video so you can see them. So they run generally from a size 10 up to probably a 1 in carp fishing. So this is a barbless version. I'm not going to pick the hook up because you probably see it better on the background there. So very sharp point, as you can see. No barb on that one. And then if we pan over to this side, exactly the same pattern of hook, a wide gape hook, the same gauge, but with a micro barb. So I will emphasise that everything now is normally micro barbed. It's not barbed with a massive gaff from your era, Graham. There are slight little tiny pinprick on there. So that's one style of hook in the Calder wide gape. And then I'm going to show you some other patterns here, which other people have got as favourites as well with me.
And those micro barbs, would they be accepted where it says barbless only, you know, on fisheries? Every fishery, check all your rules and regs, guys, on these.
Check your rules and regs. So if it is a barbless only fishery, you must look, on most packets you'll see the difference. So this is what I've done here, you'll notice. I've got out different things. So barbless, they've done it in yellow writing for barbless. So then when you look at your different sizes in the patterns, you'll know that's a barbless range. And then that's the same style hook, but just in a micro barbed. But they've changed the colour of the writing. So if it is a barbless fishery, it is no barb at all.
Is that standard yellow, or is that just this particular brand?
That's this particular brand. So if
that's
you
a good idea, though.
There you go. So if you look on this one here, quickly, you pan over there.
Yeah.
They use red for their barbed and orange for their barbless, but that's in that style of hook. And then when we get to those ones, they're blue and pink on the writing. Yeah. So they generally give you different scenarios to tell the difference of hook. So this style of hook's a curved shank hook, which you will find a lot of people in the fishing world, in carp fishing, love a curved shank hook. But do check your fishery rules as well. Some people are straight hooks only, they won't allow curved hooks.
Well, I call that a J hook, or you call it a straight J hook, really? Straight
J hook, like a wide gape. But to be honest, you'll see this in most places. You'll find that a lot of hooks, I'm pretty sure.
Let me come in on that. So these two, one's a barbed and one's a barbless, isn't it?
Yeah, so this side here, barbless. And then the micro barb, just a tiny little. Right, so this one was the ESP hook I was just showing you, and this one's the Gardner Mugger hook. If you look, I can see the differences. So the curve's slightly more curved on this one, and this is curved.
Wider gape.
Wider gape on this one, and if you look, the eye's actually in turn slightly more on that one.
Yes.
Which gives you this sort of funny C shape, but it seems to really hook hold well. And like when a hook goes in like that, it goes in and turns in, it just doesn't leave.
Just from the direction of the pull of the line, isn't it?
Pull of the line, that's it. It just pulls it back in. So I've always found they're very hard hooking hooks. They do hook well and they're generally pretty solid. You don't tend to lose them.
Do they make their own, what would you call them, rigs? You know, with a, you know, you can buy.
Yeah, so you can buy pretty much everything I've just shown you so far. You can buy as a ready tied rig in a standard hair rig, a spinner rig. There's loads. So perhaps we'll do a little talk on some different rigs out there. But you know, for me, I keep my fishing basic, simple. Yeah. Find the fish, put the food in, fish a standard sort of hair rig setup, carp setup, and wait, you know, and that is my fishing. But that's probably because I'm a simple person, mate.
No, I joined that club a long time ago.
So another style of hook. I'm just throwing a few out there so you can see different types. I get asked what different types are. So this is what they call a chod hook, which generally is for a pop-up boilie. I don't think we've got any descriptions on there, so we'll show you. So again, barbless and micro barbed. I'm just going to get one out of the packet there. So you can see again, so I'm going to relate back to our standard hook. So if I show you on there. So standard wide gape chod hook. So what you can see on here is what they got called a beaked point. It points back in slightly more than this one. You've got slightly beaked on that, but you can see that sweeps in more with the outward turned eye. So and the idea being because when the pop-up is on this, it will stand up and it stands sort of like that way up in the air. So your line will come off here to the bottoms of the weight and your boilies off the top. So it sits that way around. So technically as the carp comes over and sucks, it goes in and then we'll hook in the bottom lip. And that was a sharp hook because that one got me, that one.
It did me, yeah, it was a sharp one, yeah.
Right, so we've got another shape hook here, which is more of a long shank hook, as you can see. So it's a longer, well, I've probably picked out the wrong size, Graeme, really, because what it is, that's a smaller hook there. That's a size 8 long shank. It's called a trigger hammer hook by ESP. It's still a long shank hook, whether it be Calder, whatever. It's their own branded one. So as you see, it's just a long point. Some people prefer that long straight hook.
What's that for? What is it? Is there a reason for it?
Hook's different, to be fair. I mean, as I've gone through all the patterns, I still go back to my standard hook I'm quite happy with.
Yeah.
People like to use these for the spinner rigs. If we're having the long shank, it gives you space and room to put things on the shank, whether it be a bead, like a hook bead to put a swivel on,
rings and all those sort of things.
Yeah, so you've got a bit more length to do it, and some people just prefer, I think it's to do with the angle of the pulse again, you know, so from where your line comes off and you pull on the rods, you know, you can pull that in, it goes down. But I think the most important thing is having a long sharp point on a hook for me.
Yeah.
That it's got a nice long sharp hook. So yeah, long shank hook, spin around forever.
Not and that one was underneath it. Well, what was that?
That one, that is it. There.
That one.
What, that one? Oh, that was just a standard wide gate again. But because that's a size 4 hook and that's an 8, it's the same size shank. So if that was a size 8, it'd probably be quite a bit shorter than that, just because it's a long shank hook. So I've picked up the wrong packet to show you there. But yeah, so you get the long shank hooks. I wouldn't say it's as popular these days, but you know, some of the guys from old used to fish with a long shank hook. Right, so something me and Graeme were just talking about was some of them you get what they call a seamless eye. As you can see, there's a bit of an indent in there, and that's where they roll the metal back round onto the shank and form the eye. Sometimes they're soldered in the middle, so there's no little gap, but because they're chemically forged, that when they finish them, they're so hard with the hardening, it'll never bend out on you to open up here.
And you won't get your line
won't
go
get
through
trapped.
or anything
No,
like that?
as you can see, there's barely, you can't even make it
I can't even see
gap.
it through the camera,
Yeah, so that's really good. That's a really sharp hook as well. That one got me then. So this one's another one called a beaked point, which just basically means it comes down like a wide gape hook, but you see the point swept inwards.
Yeah.
Some people prefer that for it's a hook hold. And again, you've got a slightly inward turned eye, which to the others are slightly out or straight. But again, I think there's a minefield of hooks, Graeme. You can keep going through them. You know, get one for maybe a pop-up style, which would be like your chod style hook.
Yeah.
And probably a wide gape, and I'd be happy at that.
Yeah,
you know.
I'd be happy with wide gapes.
Wide gape hook does everything. So I could talk about hooks forever and confuse you because there's so many different types. But that's the majority of the standard carping hooks that I sell. But the only other one I'm going to show you, which does sort of come around soon when the weather gets warmer and people start going floater fishing, so fishing on the surface. And what you'll find is some of these bigger carp hooks, you put that on with your floater, it starts sinking after a while. The gauge is much thicker on these and heavier.
Yeah.
So when you look, so Fox do a zig and floater hook, Nash will do them, ESP do them, they all do their own sort of versions. Calder do a mixer hook. Basically it's a lighter gauge hook, still very strong, but it will just keep your pop up or your floating bait on the surface for longer by using them, being lighter. So other than that, that's really about it that I've got on the carp hooks for today. And yeah, we could look at some other ones another day.
Yeah, exactly. There's enough there to be going on with, isn't there? The ones I wouldn't be using, I'm going to say would be that one.
Just, the curved one?
Yeah. Sharp, wasn't it? Because it's
very sharp. Yeah,
I like the sharpness of these carp hooks. They really, really are sharp out of the packet. That one wouldn't set me alight. I'd be more standard wide gapes. The initial one's just a standard wide gape hook. That's just me. That's just me saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I'm
think
basic. We'll just keep stuff basic.
I like simplicity in fishing. That's what I like. I know I've got all this to look at and everything more you can go around. But if you find the fish, use your basic rigs really. And the key is finding fish and getting the right bait on the day. And I think once you go that, if you want to go down the riggy technical side, there's lots of things you can play with to make your fishing harder, which it does. I think you can confuse yourself, but I think the basic knowledge still catches fish. It was catching fish 50 years ago, it will catch fish today.
You've got to find them, haven't you? But you've got plenty down there on your stands. If people want to come in and get really into it, you can point them in the right direction.
We've got all the little bits you can use. So hook ring swivels, hook beads, there's a million of kickers, D-ring kickers. So yeah, there's a minefield out there, but pop in, come and ask me. I can put you on advice. I'll even show you how to tie a rig if you need to know. So no problem.